Two Girls, One Pod. It's the episode with two girls. And this week I have a beautiful woman called Heidi Anderson. If you don't know who she is, she's an ex-radio announcer. She's a podcast host. That's a hard thing to put together. She's appeared on Big Brother Australia and she's now a PR queen. She's been on a long journey of self-love and you'll hear that throughout the episode. She's a little ray of sunshine, and I seem to get a lot of these women that come on the show that are just nothing but inspirational. And she really is one of them. She's fought some hard demons and she's winning. So if you don't already know who Heidi Anderson is, please listen to this episode and you will want to know who she is. Go and follow her and let her inspire you, because she's a good one. She's a good egg. Please enjoy Heidi Anderson. I'm so glad to have you on. We wanted to do this last year and we never got around to it, did we?
I love you.
We're
I'm
here
such
now.
a fan.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I adore you, and I always have. You've packed a lot into your life, and all of it is very inspiring to me. We're quite similar in a lot of ways. Like, we're very body positive, body accepting. We will have a go when we need to. We've both worked in the entertainment industry and suffered a little bit of mental health issues. I want to just start with that. Like, you were on radio, and in 2016, you shared what you were struggling with as far as your mental health went. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, like your anxiety diagnosis and what life was like for you back then? Paint the picture for people who may not know.
Okay, first I just have to say I love you, and I actually loved watching your breakthrough moment on I'm a Celebrity, Get You Out of Here, where you refused to actually weigh yourself. And that was when I was like, I liked this woman before, now I love her. And but it's a similar thing, right? When I spoke out about my anxiety on breakfast radio here in Perth, it's that moment of vulnerability. And I think, you probably didn't realize either when you had your moment that it was going to be so big. And I didn't expect that either. So for me, I'd been struggling for 6 to 8 weeks, breakfast radio. We were new to the job. It was a new show. I was working with 2 best friends who probably didn't really want me there. They wanted their own show, not in a mean way, but, they wanted their own show. I'd come out of Big Brother. I was in a new relationship. So all of this huge change in my life, and I didn't know how to explain to people about what was truly going on in my head. So everyone has always seen me as quite the confident person because, mask that, pretending you're so confident for years and years and years. And that's how I probably got as far as I had in my radio career and doing Big Brother and reality TV and stuff. But there comes a point where it's like you can't hide anymore. And, I think I got to a point I was drinking so much. I was coming home from the breakfast radio show and I was just full of self-doubt, full of feeling like everyone else was going to take my job, like that, you know what I mean? Like just everything that you could think about, that imposter syndrome, the self-doubt, was just combusting in my body. And I was just on this vicious merry-go-round of just really negative self-talk and torture. I think it probably was more for myself and my husband. And I just remember one day I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm actually exhausted of myself. And then, you're trying to put on a front every single day and be happy. And I got a new boss and she said to me, do you know, I don't really know what anxiety feels like. And I was like, thought kind of it was coming to the front line. She's like, I would love for you to just explain to me what it feels like. And I ended up writing down in a letter, and it ended up being a column in one of the newspaper publications I wrote for about what I was experiencing. And I shared it with her and she said, thank you so much. Would you be comfortable sharing it on air? Because she obviously probably saw it was good content.
But
everything's
also content.
But I think there'd be good content. There's will get great ratings for the show. No, she wasn't like that at all. It was very much like she saw the power in me sharing what it would do. And also like, so the guys could understand me. I felt like the listeners had probably started to notice that there was a shift I was having panic attacks in the middle of the show, like literally crying my eyes off, panic, can't breathe, then running back on air and like laughing with like a tear rolling down my eye, and, trying to put on that brave face. I've got it together. And then one day I said to her, yep, I'm going to do it. It was 8 weeks after she'd asked me. And I said, but if you need me to say this thing now, I'm going to say it now, or it's probably never going to come back out. I've got the courage. And so I sat there and I read it out. And the girl who worked with me was a videographer. I had no idea that she was going to film it. And they put it online and like 2 million people viewed it. And it was so crazy because I reckon I had 1,000+ messages in my inbox of people just saying thank you because they finally understood their sister, their wives, their partners, of what anxiety really feels like. And that's just kind of what I explained in the letter. And that for me was like a huge moment because after that, it meant that I could not control my anxiety, but everyone kind of, it was like, hey, I'm anxious and crazy.
It was labeled.
And there's an excuse for it.
Yeah.
So it changed my whole like trajectory. And now I'm a mental health advocate. And, I don't really feel I experience anxiety so much anymore because I've done so much work within myself. But it was the catalyst to work, on myself in that inwards kind of journey.
Well, it's definitely meant to happen in a painful way.
Yeah.
And you know what you were saying before about you don't realise the effect that it's going to have on anyone. You're in it and you're having this moment. And, I remember thinking in my head that I was ruining the segment.
Yeah.
Like they won't even put it to air. Like, and people are saying thank you because they themselves feel seen for the first time, and someone is talking about something that might be happening to them or someone close to them that no one's ever spoken about on air before or on TV before. And it's incredibly, well, community is what, everything is about. And to feel like you belong all of a sudden, even though it's such an uncomfortable, discomfort that you're sitting in and that you're experiencing, and no one wants to, have to have anxiety or anything to be able to, have these breakthrough moments. But it's so good that in such a bad, hard time for you, that you had something so beautiful come from it. And, you were also saying about the changes in your life, and you had a new relationship and you had this fantastic job. One thing I've learned through therapy is just how much it doesn't matter what is happening in your life. If it's stressful, it's stressful, and your body doesn't know if it's a good stress or a bad stress. It just knows it's stress. You're swimming, you're trying to stay above water, and like you could be getting married and trying to organise a wedding. That's really stressful, even though it's a beautiful, positive thing that you're doing. Your body has no idea why you're stressed. It just knows that you are not coping as you would normally every day. So, to have that in your actual workplace is, this is how burnout happens. People.
Oh my God, yes. And like, and it's now getting and knowing, understand like your nervous system and being in survival mode and everything like that. And like you said, it's that little stress to someone, but then to you, it's like this fucking whole mountain. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about anxiety. Yeah. And like I said, I've done a lot of work to get where I am today, that I like to just say that I experience it at periodic times, but my whole life was a fucking mountain of anxiety. But, to some people, they would have been like, oh, you've got it all, girl. You've got the new man. You've got the job. You've got you've got all this shit. You've got your shit together. And it's like exactly like kind of what you were saying, like, to everyone else, they thought, oh yeah, like that's not stressful. But it was like the most stressful time in my life. Like I'd moved to a new place and like, feeling like I didn't fit in with the boys because they were like, besties, and now they've gone on to have their own show and have their own success. That's all they ever wanted. And like, I think that was the thing. I just wanted to feel like I fit in and that, I was doing a good job and, that were all the things that I needed to hear. But, I didn't know how to voice that at the time either.
Yeah.
And now I know how to communicate a lot of my feelings.
You would have learnt so much. Just taking you back to that with the boys, how did they react to it?
So it was Will and Woody. You'll hear them, on a radio show themselves now. They're best friends. Will has been very vocal about his own mental health issues.
Yeah.
So we had a lot going on with him that he never, ever wanted to speak publicly about.
Wow,
now he speaks very publicly about his mental health, which I fucking love. And I always probably stroke my ego being like, I influenced him and
inspired you inspired him to do that.
Yeah. And we did, they were very much got into radio to do poo jokes and shits and giggles and boy stuff. You know what I mean?
And ain't nothing wrong with a poo joke. But,
I know. Well,
there's a little bit more.
Woody loves a poo joke. And then I think they met me and I was like this 30-year-old, wanting to change the world. I've got this new job and husband. And then they're in their prime of wanting to party and spend all this money that they were making. And so we just were not in alignment. Do you know what I mean? That was me 5 or 6 years ago in London, when I had my PR job. And, so I really appreciated where they were in their life. But I think there was just a different maturity in the way that, where we were at in our worlds. Yeah. But it took me and Will 2 years to talk after the show ended. And that was just because we both were having big mental health issues ourselves. Yeah. We were just processing a lot, and there is so much love there with me. I just wish them well. But at the time, I think what was happening with our mental health issues, we couldn't actually voice our real feelings or real thoughts. And it was kind of like you were walking on eggshells a little bit because one person had severe depression, the other one's an anxious mess, and then Woody's in there hey, can I tell a poo joke? Or so it was literally my boss used to call it the peanut gallery because we were we literally were a bunch of
mental cases out of an asylum. You weren't in the asylum. Normally
and
you'd be going to therapy every morning.
We definitely needed a therapist. Yeah. And I always say to my husband, because I watch on with admiration that two boys who are best friends, they're doing something they love together. And I love that. Yeah. And I said, wouldn't it be funny doing a radio show with them now? I think we're so mature. We've done so much work. I said, we probably wouldn't feel the angst that we all probably felt at times. You know what I mean? It would have been such a more peaceful kind of place. But in hindsight, we did have some really epic moments together. So they were really supportive. That's the honest truth. They were really supportive. They championed everything that I did. And they were really all about me having a better mental health. Mm. And then I was the same with Will, but it was kind of like a brotherly sister relationship. Yeah. We loved each other, but we didn't know how to necessarily navigate it at times.
Yes. Yeah. Because sibling relationships, whether they're real or not, or they're really difficult, and when you're working with people, you need to be colleagues. Not friends or siblings or even, in kind of relationships or anything. You need to be colleagues, and and I think that's where a lot of people fall down, working with people that they know better than being a colleague too. Everything gets really emotional.
Oh, and that's the thing, that's what they want in radio. They want you to have the conflict on air. And so they really did that with Will and I as well. And as you've worked in radio, and there's something so beautiful about it, but then there's something so fucked up about it. Yeah. And you really become they really mold you. And I think that's what happened to me is I'm but I didn't feel like I could always be myself. Yeah. And, and then you've got people, not just the bosses listening, but you've got the listeners, and then you've got, you don't want to piss your co-hosts off. And
every bloody quarter. And that is just frightening. Frightening. You forget ratings exist until they come out and you're like, oh yeah, they're important, aren't they? Oh, am I about to have the worst day? Am I about to have the best day? All because of a couple of numbers. But that's the beast of that industry. Now, you grew up in rural New South Wales, is that correct?
Yeah, Bathurst in country New South Wales.
I love Bathurst.
Oh, you've been there?
Well, yeah, everyone. I mean, who hasn't been to Bathurst, It's
I
Bathurst.
I always have to say, like, yeah, because people go Bathurst or, and that was where I went to uni. It's where I grew up. My mum had her cafe.
Well,
Like, but always
there's a
I have
great
to.
uni there. So that's why,
So fun.
people know about Bathurst. And it's one of the best unis in this country, I think. It's produced some amazing people out of it.
I know. Look at me. No,
Look at you.
No, they have. There's really big names that have come out. And that's what I always say to people. It's really cool to hear. And, I met some amazing people at uni that are in the public eye today. And I just, like, when you're there, you don't even think about it because you're too busy drunk at punch parties or, doing, like, what was it? We always used to do the pub crawls because Bathurst is renowned for their pubs, like, quite close together.
Yes.
So...
I mean, I think that I've only ever been to Bathurst once, but it would have been for a weekend of that kind of debauchery. But so you grew up there and then you went to uni there. Was that the choice because you were there, or?
Do you know what? I think, like, being in the comfort zone. So I went overseas for a gap year, and then I remember I actually applied to study psychology at uni. Like, who the was I? Like, crazy.
You're interested in the mind.
Well, I am now, but at the time, like, I just was like, what? I would not have, like, I needed a psychologist. I couldn't be one. And so I ended up then going overseas, and I was partying so much, and I was obsessed with Sex in the City. And I remember my mum saying, I need to apply for your uni, Heidi, so that you don't miss out. What am I going to do? And I'm like, communication or something like that. And so she did that, and I ended up doing PR, and that's how I stayed at university in Bathurst.
So, and you enjoy PR? Yes, because that's what you're really, you're going gangbusters with it now. You're really finding that niche market of training. Is it just women?
I do kind of work with men occasionally, but I just, it's more that, like, it's more that, like, I think I did body confidence and everything for so long that I understood a woman so much. Do you know what I mean? Because I am one, obviously, but I just kind of niched that way. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not exclusive to just women. I do like to, if I find the right person, but I think it's, like alignment, Yeah.
What year was it that you were on the SBS show with Casey Donovan?
Yes, so that was 2020, I think.
Such a great episode. And Casey, she's such a divine human, and, she did such a great job, and it was so incredibly educational, that show, because, they went through the science and everything. And then towards the end of the show, that's when you came in, and you at the time were doing, what was it called? It was called something.
Shed Your Shit.
That's it, Shed Your Shit. And it was just so wonderful because what it was about was basically taking your clothes off and being comfortable to do so and challenging people to do that. So I watched all these women join you. You were at a beach. What beach were you at?
So, do you know what? I just have to say, I think you messaged me about it or something, and I nearly fell off my chair because I had all this admiration for you, and I was like, oh my God, she knows who I am. Like, because I had all this admiration for you for doing all the things that you did when you were in the jungle, and, and so when you messaged me, I was like, oh my God, she's watching it. Like, I felt so proud. But it was like, I think there was close to 200 people that we'd organized. So there was men and women in this one, but they'd seen me walk through the shopping center in my bra and undies, the whole bunch of people. And that producer contacted me. He saw what I was doing, and I thought it was a joke at first because I was like, surely they don't, like, what? Like, oh my God. Because, I'd left radio. I was a new mom. I was kind of just forging my own way. And I'm like, SBS want me as part of their documentary with Casey Donovan. Like, is this a joke? And then when they told me that the vision at the end is to have all of these bodies walking through the markets here in Perth at Scarborough Beach, I was like, no way, because I only could get like 10 people to walk through a shopping centre with me. Like, there's no way I'll be able to get all these people. And we produced it, and we got so many contacts of people that were willing to strip down into their bra and undies in front of strangers and come on this, like, I guess you could call it a protest of, like, that we're not going to, not be a part of, like, the bullshit beauty standards that are thrown at us. And, like, we're people, we're not just our bodies. And, once you start to accept what you look like, I feel like that's when the magic happens, Absolutely. So they really helped me portray that in the final scenes of what does Australia really think about obesity. And it was honestly one of the most powerful moments of my life.
Well, it was to watch. So I can't imagine how it must have been for you. And thank you so much for doing it. And Casey shared her shit as well, and all those beautiful people. Oh, it was so beautiful to watch because, I mean, I don't know what you were like growing up, but growing up, I was a fat teen, and wearing a big shirt over your cozy to the beach you had to do it. And I just can't believe I did that. And some people are still doing that today. And that's what, you'd never see anyone on TV that wasn't the butt of a joke if they were fat.
Oh,
they were
100%.
Only the butt and only the funny person or the pig just eating all the time. So to see people just shed their shit, shed their clothes and be really just, again, community, like the way you all embraced each other. It was just so incredibly emotional to watch. And I love seeing stuff like that because there are so many more, for all the people that you hear from, for doing that kind of thing, there are 3 times the amount of people you're not going to hear from, and that has done something for them as well. So I can still remember, it was such a great series, but that one particularly, because it was so educational. Like they went through DNA with Casey and they really explained the obesity gene and, that kind of genetics and things like that. So I thought that was incredibly wonderful. Thank you for doing that. I want to ask you about Big Brother because I did know who you were before I DM'd you about that because I had seen you. I'm not anymore. I was a huge fan of Big Brother, like huge fan of Big Brother. I hate the new one. Ever since it's gone over to Channel 7, I just hate that they're doing a poor man survivor, like challenges every episode. It's like, no. It is about conversation. That's all it is about. It's about taking people and putting them in a room without anything and just letting them chat. The jungle has become more of what Big Brother is supposed to be. And Big Brother now has become what Survivor is doing really, really well. Why on earth would you try to... So I shouldn't be, bagging it too much, but you were on the old Big Brother, 2013, is that right?
Yes,
Season 10?
You nailed it. Yep, 2013. Tim was the winner, so everyone's always like, 2013, who was on that? Tim, curly head Tim, Tim Dormer, who was my nemesis, my arch nemesis, but also my best friend, who also was like probably the reason why I got booted out. I don't have hard feelings about that at all.
What number were you when you went?
Do you know, I got kicked out on day 43, so I think it was halfway.
Halfway, yeah.
And you know what? It's like I just started that self-love kind of journey of going inwards and everything. And then going into that house, was fucking the hardest thing that I have ever done.
Yeah.
It was so intimidating. And I think I was always putting on that I was the bubbly, fun, confident girl. Right. When you can't go like that 24/7. And so I would have these massive days where I would feel so depressed, and I'd just started eating really well. So I was battling, and then all of a sudden the walls started feeling like they were caving in, because my body image issues, seeing all the mirrors and everything.
Oh, yeah, mirrors everywhere.
Oh, everywhere. And for someone who was avoiding mirrors for most of their life, that's when my voices would get really loud, you fat bitch, all this shit. So I would look around and it'd be like someone was yelling at me, but it was my own inner voice. But I didn't know how to express that. Now, had I have known that was probably going to be quite relatable, and if I talked about that shit, I probably would have been able to change a lot of conversations around women's body, body confidence and, that acceptance. But I was too in it at the time. And I think my biggest thing was I was so desperate to be liked. That's all stuff that I've worked on now. Yeah. And it's funny that, someone who was such a desperado for people to like her, or that people pleaser, that I ended up in such a judgmental environment. But I think that's probably why I was attracted to it in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you're so honest about wanting to be liked, because that's so many of us. Everyone wants to be liked, right? But there are a handful of people who will do anything just to be liked. And I was like that in high school. And, it took me a really long time to admit that I wasn't this independent, funny chick who just did what I want. I was I made decisions and, went through relationships in my 20s and 30s, making my interests a man's likes, and because so he would like me. It's the worst thing you can possibly do is be inauthentic because it stinks. It reeks off you, and you can't get far with it.
Yeah. Oh my God. And like, just you can't escape yourself. You can't escape that house. Like, and then, and then people like are telling you whether they like you or not because they want to keep you in the house. So it's just like, this like crazy, vicious roller coaster. But I think for me, like it's everything happens for a reason, right? It highlighted all of the things that I didn't like about myself, and I had to accept them and work through that. And you know what I mean? Like, and become, in doing that, like I wouldn't change it for a second. I made awesome friends. I loved it. It really highlighted my anxiety, like how much I needed to get hold of that. Alex, who runs the jungle now, Alex, who would have been your producer. Alex, he was my producer of Big Brother. So that's probably why he's made the jungle so much.
It has to be because he's just so good at casting and putting those jigsaw puzzle pieces together of relationships. He knows how to put people together. So his casting, he's got that, really, and Love Island now as well. He does so well with that.
I love that show. Do you watch that show?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's really weird because I just find it very odd to stare at people just walking around in their cozies all the time, which is fine. That's actually not a problem I have. The problem I have is they're so fucking hot in them. I'd like to see normal bodies on that show. I really would. I'd really love to see me on that show.
I'm wondering I would love to see you on the show.
Yeah, a young us on there.
Yeah, I wonder if that will happen. I did think that recently because when people find out that I watch Love Island, they're like, that is everything against you, what you stand for. And I'm like, no, because I love bodies. I love celebrating bodies, whatever shape, size, colour. Right. But I was like, in the UK, they did bring in some disabilities and that over the last couple of years, which was awesome representation. And I thought, are they going to get the bigger, sized guys and gals and the different shapes and sizes happening over the next few years?
It may happen. I don't think it will in this country because we're so small, our population and our TV watchers, they're just, we don't have enough diverse eyes on like the UK does. Also, just looking at The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, they've never, ever, ever had a plus-size person on any of those franchises. Haven't. So they've now just gone old. Like there's an old, hot Bachelor in America. Oh, yay, thanks, as if that is like your diversity, a silver fox. Oh, sorry, George Clooney. Yeah, that's so different, isn't it?
It's so hard being George Clooney lookalike.
But put a fat girl in there, please. Yeah. Just... Well, see how she goes, because she'd actually go pretty well, I reckon.
Yes. Do you know what? And like that was the thing. I know when I went on Big Brother, that's what I was so afraid of, people judging me for my body. And so I remember I went away and lost like 10 kilos beforehand and like, was smashing it at the gym and doing all these things. But, I still get people to stop me today going like, you were that girl that, that represented, the girl that I was wanting to see growing up, and you were that girl who was the funny one, like you wouldn't take life so seriously. And I was like, it was beautiful for people to reflect that back to me. And that was the same on the radio because you feel like you've got to fit a mold, and I'm sure you feel the same sometimes, like in the public eye. It's like there are a lot of beautiful women at the moment that are like, that are changing the way that they look around their bodies and their faces and everything. And for me, I'm like, I'm happy whatever anyone wants to do with themselves, just as long as it's their decision.
And that they really want to do it.
And yes, that it's not that like focus from the comments or focus from other people or doing it to fit, certain molds. So like that's been my journey as well, like coming to terms with, this is who I am. Like this is what I look like. Can't change it.
You can't. Well, you can, but geez, but who's got the time and money and, the chase? You got to chase it then. You got to keep chasing.
And I don't even have time to get my fucking nails done. Like I'm that person who literally to go out to an event like yesterday, I do have a stylist. I messaged her at 5:30. The event started at 6:30. I was like, I have nothing to fucking wear. But I'm that girl who doesn't get her hair done, doesn't get her makeup done. Like when I do, it's awesome, but I just can't be bothered to sit in a chair that long or get my and after baby, I don't even get my nails done.
I don't even have a baby or that busy a life, and I can't stand sitting in the chair I do my own hair. I cut my own hair, I colour my own hair, I paint my own nails.
I do love that you do it yourself. Like, I can't be bothered to do that. I'll still get my toenails done. That's and because I love the scraping I just got back from Bali and I was like, can you scrape my feet? Like, yeah. So, but it's just I'm just, but that's my choice, and whoever wants to do what they want to do, you know what I mean? I celebrate everyone for however they want to live their lives. That's why I just love like Love Island and reality TV. Like, I love that those people just can get up and rock what they got. You know what I mean? And then they're going on dates in their bras and and bikinis and, I really genuinely that's what I love about reality TV.
Yeah. And what about that bloke on the Gold Coast who wanted to outlaw bums? What are they called? Thongs?
The
up your
G-strings.
G-string
Yeah.
bikinis.
Old, get a life,
creepy
mate.
bloke on the project giving what he thought was really thought out reasons why, he's just walking down the street trying to, and Sarah said, oh, well, you could maybe not look. But it's there right in front of me. I don't have a choice. Well, you do have a choice. And if we have to look at your floppy boobs every day on the beach, not him in particular, but last week on MAFS, they had Lucinda, who's my favourite.
Yes, me too.
And her husband, Timothy, and he said to her, maybe wear a shirt to bed,
I know, that was fucked.
And because she said, that just isn't okay. Like, I am really comfortable with my boobs. And then off screen, she goes, you've got boobs too. And he'd been wearing no shirt to bed the entire time. And you know what? I said it on my Instagram and I had a lot of people say, same, yeah, I totally agree. I had one person say to me, yeah, but she'd been wearing pajamas the entire time and she just got into bed with him without a top on and he didn't know, And I'm like, true, but did he ask her before he very first day got into bed and said, just letting you know, I don't wear a shirt to bed, because I can pretty much bet my left boob that he didn't.
Oh, he wouldn't have. He's not a communicator. And I was hoping that they were going to, have this beautiful relationship because he's been so broken and then she's just, obviously, but she's carrying so much of it. And, there was a part of me that I didn't get at first when she said the boob thing, and then it landed and I was like, oh my God, that's actually very funny. He does he does have boobs. So yeah, he should wear but it wasn't like the body shaming part. It was more just like, you've got tits too, mate. We all do.
And you are okay with showing them to the world. Well, not to the world, but to the beach, to people at the beach, to a person lying in bed next to you, to anyone that's in your house when you get out of the shower. Walking down the street, men are allowed to just have no top on, and we have to wear a top or something to cover our nipples. And it's just so bizarre. It's like, just do one or the other. Everyone has to wear a shirt, or everyone can go without a shirt without anyone having a freaking meltdown. And if someone wants to wear a bikini up their bum crack, which I couldn't think of anything worse because of the comfort, but the amount, there's so many boys walking, ever heard of a plumber's crack?
One of my girlfriends, Rosie Rees, I don't know if you follow her. I reckon you would love her stuff.
I'm going to start.
She's very much part of the sexual revolution and free the nip. And
free the nip.
She's an incredible product base for crystal dildos and everything like that. And she has awesome conversations about this on her Instagram, and she really puts it into perspective and is fighting for that, I guess, that equality of, like you said, we've all got boobs. We've all got, you know what I mean? And why should we cover
it? And more important because theirs they don't literally need them at all. We do.
Yeah.
So why are we not out there showing them off as the beauties that they are? Because, every woman in any tribe, not just in Africa, in most, clans, their boobs are out. They're feeding machines. Kids need to grab them.
Celebrated.
given moment. You know, that whole, I hate seeing children going up and having a drink from a woman's, if they can walk or eat, they should not be breastfeeding. It's like, who are you to say that?
Do you know what? It's so interesting how society just conform, and then everyone gives this idea and then it conforms. Like, I remember when I was breastfeeding, like the conversations that people, would feel like, oh, that's inappropriate. And there was some people that, like in my own home, like, oh, should I get my tit out in front of them? Like, I don't know. They weren't saying anything, but because I was feeling like, oh, are they going to be uncomfortable and this and that? Like, and now I look at it, I'm like, shit, I would have just got my boobs out because I was having like Madonna sprays sometimes, like the milk coming out. I was like, oh, I couldn't believe my boobs were doing.
You could have done OnlyFans and made so much money just squirting the screen.
I'm like, okay, I have a really funny story, and I have never told this publicly, but I'm going to tell you.
Oh, you've got a scoop. It's happening right here, baby. It's a scoop. Everyone.
So we got drunk with a couple of our friends one night, and one guy, he's not got kids, and his girlfriend, she didn't have kids, and he was like, I really want to try breast milk. And so they got the sunnies on, and I had like my milk started coming out, and like obviously I wasn't at home and it was just spraying, and they're like trying to catch milk. And I remember the conversation with hubby first, and I was like, well, is this okay? Like, I don't know if this is inappropriate. Like, he was there sitting next to me. He goes,
bodily fluid, you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, he was like, when are they going to get to taste breast milk again? It only happened when they were a baby. He's like, it's so good.
And what did they think of it? The taste?
Loved it.
Did they?
Loved it. Like,
I've never tasted it.
Oh my God, if I was still breastfeeding, I'd let you taste. Mine was apparently very sweet. I even fed my friend's baby, not like he didn't get on the boob, but I fed him because she couldn't produce milk.
Yep.
But it was so funny because afterwards it became like a bit of the joke because Ranger, the guy who is my hubby's best friend, I know Ranger, he was obsessed, and every time he got drunk, he was like, do you think like I could have some breast milk?
A couple of cans of booby? Bitty can. A bitty tinny.
A titty bitty or whatever they call it.
Oh my God, that's the best. Like, my producer just had conjunctivitis, which turned into so it ended up being something else. But I said to my friend who has remedies for everything, what should we do for her eye? And she said, if you can get some breast milk, it's the best thing that you can do. And I said to her, we need to get you some breast milk. I don't know anyone. I mean, Isabel Silbury's the only person that I knew who was breastfeeding. And I was like, do you want me to go and get some? Because I will. But it works apparently. So
it does.
We'll never know, will we, Rach?
Rach didn't do it.
No, she's still got a bung eye. Had she got that titty on her eye, mate, she'd be winking happily right now.
But do you know what? Like, there was this meme going around which a lot of mums would love, and it's like breast milk heals everything, and there was a broken arm and put breast milk on it, and then because that's what it's like. Like, honestly, and when you really think
for.
It's so crazy, isn't it? Like, your milk, like that baby lives off. That's the only thing it lives off for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 5 years, whatever you want to do it. But like, it's so wild when you think of it like that.
Absolutely. And if you've got even a toddler still wanting it, I'm all for it. I'm like, that's some good shit there. I'd be having that until 21. Like, heals everything. You'd have such a healthy kid.
Exactly.
And I'd be squirting in their eyes and squirting up their noses and squirting. I'd mostly be squirting down at the floor because I've got the saggiest boobs in the world. But
would yours be going down ways?
Yeah, I remember my cousin who's got the exact same, like my mum's side of the family, we've all got the exact same body shape, and she's had 3 kids, and she was very open about breastfeeding, but she would always have this rolled up nappy or towel under her floppy boob so she could breastfeed, properly. And I just stare at it and go, that'd be me.
What is
that'd
that's
be
a contraption? A contraption? What's it?
Because I'm looking at a tit going, that's exactly my boob. Like that, and that's how I would have to breastfeed. I couldn't be one of those cool women walking around, just saying, here's my boob. It's like, wait, got to put my towel underneath it. So
I've got to. Can someone help me lift this boob, please?
I'm that kind of person that can put a bottle of wine under my boob and pour it.
Oh my God! Yeah. Stop! I want to see that. Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah, God, yeah. Yes, I could open things with my saggy bag.
You can open things with your boobs.
Well,
stop.
I can open a bottle cap with my boob. underneath.
This is how we're going viral for this podcast.
No, this is my OnlyFans. What am I doing? I tried to join OnlyFans, Heidi, and they rejected me. They wouldn't let me in.
Why?
Because they didn't like my photograph on my license, and they said it doesn't look like me, and then my passport didn't look like me, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make it look more like how to make me look more like me, and so I had to let it go. But
what were you going to do on OnlyFans? Can you tell me?
Yes, of course I can. I was going to do no head, just body, fat fetish.
Yes.
So, but whatever you wanted, whatever the things came through. Do you remember the show United States of Tara with Toni Collette?
Yes.
Well, her daughter, played by Brie Larson, who's gone on become her in her own right a brilliant, famous actress, she started doing video webcam sex work, which was she'd sit on cakes. And I have been obsessed ever since, because I just men would pay her so much money to get a cake, take it out of the box, put it on her bed, and then sit on it. Right?
Oh my God, this is like a whole other world. I haven't even delved into this.
Yeah. So I thought, if no one knows who I am and I don't have any really, distinguishing body marks, which I don't, you won't know it's me. And I'll just do anything. Like even that girl, the fat girl in Euphoria, she did it. She had a mask on and she was doing like S&M in the second season. So I thought that was again, I was like, I could wear a mask, or I could just make sure my head's not being seen, and then I can just be gross with my body, whatever the fetish is that they want me to do. Pay up, big boys or girls or whoever, and I will do it.
Oh my God. And you wouldn't have to do any other job anymore. No. You would have made a mozza.
Yeah. And people would be going, "What? How have you just bought 2 homes?" I'm like, won the lotto.
The lotto. Oh my God. It's crazy. Like you forget the fetishes that people have. And I remember when I worked in radio, that was like one of my most favorite things to hear, like what other people's fetishes are. Yeah. Oh, do you have a fetish?
I don't think I do. Do you?
Yeah, I'm not really a fetish kind of guy. Like I like to be choked a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
But that's about as crazy as I get.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. But I do like I have a weird obsession with hands. Like not sexual, but it's just I could look at hands all day long. Like sometimes I just Google hands. Or I'll be when you go okay, when you go into your search page on Instagram when you're looking for someone, but there's all these videos there, and there'll always be videos of all sorts of different things. It's kind of an algorithm thing. So there's always a lot of pimple popping on mine, and there's, cakes, people sitting on cake. No, there's no one sitting on cakes, but there's food ones, cooking ones. There's always hand ones, because my algorithm figured out that I just really like, they think I like looking at like the manicures, but it's not the manicures. I just love hands. I just think have this thing about hands.
Well, now I can't stop putting my hands on my face. Like, is she looking at them?
I just love them. And you know what I love more than anything is like piano hands. People who look like they should play the piano, even if they don't. I don't care. Just show me your skinny hands, your bony, beautiful, funny-looking hands. Or
it's just the length. Like I love how
the length. And I hate short hands, like short, because that's what I've got, short sausage fingers. But I do like that guy Bill Nye, and he's got a hand problem, and he can't open up his ring and pinky finger. They are stuck down into his, so he's like always talks like this and does everything. Like he picks up a glass like this, and
you're just obsessed watching him.
And not only obsessed, become that in my own house by myself, walk around with my hands like his, half a claw, and watch myself in the mirror taking a drink or talking on the phone or do you remember
I've learned something new today.
I know. I can't believe I'm divulging this shit.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Do you remember
front row seat?
Yes,
grabbing the popcorn.
Yes. Do you remember the movie Speed with
Yes.
Keanu? Well, do you remember
Yes.
Dennis Hopper's character? And he had a manky hand, and he used to talk on the phone with it. It was all
And you
like a
loved watching
blown
his
up hand. But he would only ever talk with the opposite ear. With the phone, he never put his right hand to his right ear. He would always do it to his left ear. And it just, I think what it did was it really showed off the hand, which was manky. Like it was just something had happened to this hand in his past. And no one ever really touched on what. And it doesn't matter because it was clearly a prosthetic and it was meant to make it look like he'd been through some stuff. Well, I was a bit obsessed with that as well.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's interesting what people find to be like fetish. Like I didn't know that you could look up people's hands, but I was like, you could go to a nail salon and like, you go to check out all their manicures. Like that's probably in your top feeds.
Yeah, that's why I like to go. I don't like to do self-serve at the checkout. I like to check out chick or check out whoever because, especially people of colour, they've got the most beautiful hands because they're brown or they're black or they're just beautiful hands, you look at old women's hands or old man's hands and you think, oh, you've really kept your hands well, haven't you?
You could handle me.
On that note.
I liked going down the hand path.
Me too. I'd love to do a radio show with you. It would be so funny.
Oh my God, we would have so much fun.
Yeah, we really would. And have listeners calling in for things. We would just be like egging the shit out of them on.
That's the shit that I loved. Like, I didn't like when they would be like, let's talk about The Bachelor and like bag out, and the boys would be like, and this girl's such a bitch. And I'm like, I don't fucking care about that. I'm like, I'm here. I want to know what fetish, because I got a message once. I know you're going to wrap me up, but I'll finish on this. I got a message once from someone who wanted me to go do a poo at the Crown Casino in a toilet and they were going to pay me $2,000. And I was like, fucking hell. My husband was like, do it. And I'm like, no, that is so bad. But he was like, that's someone's fetish.
Yeah, but how? I need the details. Like, how was it going to work? How did they know that that you'd done it?
This is what I said. I was like, how do we not know that he
was
going to kill me? And then he wrote in the email, it's okay. You can go in. I will pay you beforehand. And then you just let me know like when you're done and what room and etc. and blah, 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 blah.
Do you have to leave the log in the bowl?
The log in the toilet.
For him. Oh, have you got his number?
No. I'm sure I can find the email somewhere.
Around here.
Hey, for those who are listening, if you want Yvie to do a beautiful shit in the toilet at Crown, we'll start at $2,000.
We'll start there. Yeah, it has to be a nice suite at Crown as well. And, and I need to be able to stay the night. And you can come when I do the poo, but then you have to piss off. Okay? Because I will poo for anyone. I will poo for people that don't even want me to poo.
Yeah, you'll poo. You don't even need to get paid for a poo.
I was talking to my friend in Perth yesterday. So Heidi's in Perth. And I said, oh, I've got to go. I'm going to call you back. She goes, what's wrong? And I said, I've just got to do a poo. And she goes, okay. And we hung up and I quickly went and did a poo. And then I rang her back and she goes, oh, did you do a good poo? And I went, oh. And she goes, oh, I don't want the details. I went, you literally just asked if I did a good poo. And I'm answering, no, it wasn't actually a great poo. And you don't want, oh, I'm sorry. What, were you committing or not? Like, where?
Do you know what? I love talking about poos when I've had that poo where I don't have to wipe my bum. That's my favourite poo.
I'm going to send you a thing that I just got sent to me, and it was like there's this brilliant TikToker, and she really is quite funny. But you know that there's an audio that says, am I like, well, she's used it, so I won't say what it is just yet, but she's put above when you POV, when you go to the toilet and you snap off a poo perfectly and you don't have to use any and the toilet paper's clean, and then the audio, and she's miming to the audio, am I better than everyone else? Is that it, Rach? Am I better than everyone else? It's so true because you do it and you're like, huh,
I feel proud.
I literally feel proud.
I feel so proud.
Doesn't
I'm
happen
like,
very often.
It doesn't happen very often in my world.
The rest of the time, it's just a fucking crime scene down there in Bogville. Now, on that note,
On that note, now we're finished on shit. We're finishing on the shit, literally.
Yeah, the shit is good. Thank you so much for coming on to my humble little pod. I'm really just chuffed. We will have you on again because I'm going to have everyone on again at some point. We haven't had any repeats yet, but we haven't been around for even a year in this capacity of just me talking to women. So I reckon once we get into the next year, then we'll start having little repeats. See how you're going a year down the track.
I love it.
Very own, what's she doing in 12 months' time?
I know, you just never know. Like a lot can change.
Where
in 12
are they
months.
now?
Where are they now? Do you remember that show? I loved that show. Yes.
Yes. Well, and where are they now? Yes, I loved that show. I love it when they do like the 80s sitcoms and everyone's a drug addict or dead.
They're not really, they know where they are. They're like in a grave.
Yeah, I love it. It's like, see, this is why my mum never wanted me to be a child star. She recognised very early how talented I was and she just refused to let me even get an agent. And I would always say to her, but I want to be on that. I could do all of that. I can do that and I can do that. And she'd go, I know you can, but we're not. And then as an adult, she said to me, you'd be dead. Like you'd be either, because I was a pleaser as well. I just wanted to be liked. I would have been taking drugs and, I mean, God, I did anyway, but I would have been really taking, drugs with money.
Oh, I'm just so glad that when we took drugs, there was no like Instagram or YouTube. Yeah. I'm like, I surely would have ended up on a viral video for not the best reasons.
Oh, my God, the things. Thank God we don't. Thank you so much, Heidi Anderson.
Thank you. I love you, Yvie. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You are divine. Keep doing what you're doing. You're so inspiring. Thank you for doing what you do. And just, I'm really just happy to follow.
Oh, I appreciate you. And like I said, it was an awesome surprise the day that you messaged me. I was like, oh, my God. Good.